Yeah, I'd just like to touch on this one last thing. The question comes up a lot: it's very controversial, but is capitalism conducive to sustainable development? And it's a really interesting one. I think the biggest fundamental qualm that most academics have pointed out is the idea that in capitalism we have this idea of limitless growth, right? You'll hear in business all the time, if you're either growing or you're dying, right? And this is fleshed out by the great systems thinker Donella Meadows in her famous publication Limits to Growth, which she explains how the idea of limitless growth is actually antithetical to sustainable development in a system with limited resources. In the last 6 years, in response to this, a lot of policymakers have been pushing for this idea of green growth, right? Which was originally introduced by the UN Sustainable Development Conference in Rio in 2012, by the World Bank Organization, the Economic Cooperation and Development, and I think the UN Environment Program. But they all produced reports promoting green growth. And today, this is the core plank of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I think it's incorporated in goal number 8, which is decent work and economic growth. And as I said, that it essentially posits that as long as we introduce the right incentives and invest in the right technology, that we'll be able to keep growing without leaving a detrimental effect on the earth. And basically, in very theoretical terms, the idea is to decouple GDP from natural resource use. And while this is a very attractive solution, the fundamental problem is that there actually isn't any research that supports it, and that actually the current research that's been done since the 2012 Rio conference has said the exact opposite, that we really can't keep growing the economy if we can continue to use our resources, or we can't have economic growth and conserve our natural resources at the same time. They're antithetical.
More things to grow more and more. So
exactly.
Things eventually. So why not just make that transition better?
Right. Yeah.
This book to anyone watching, Capitalism versus Climate.
Yes.
Excellent book. It's very thick to everything. Nuclear power, coal, just capitalism in general. It goes into some neoliberal, dismissing some neoliberal ideas. So what Macron's doing about, like you said, so it's a very good book.
Yeah, and I we see the logic of neoliberalism. We see it in the sustainability movement all over the place, and it's kind of really interesting. And I think that to go back to that point of thinking about the political economic system, I really want to stress that we really need to get money out of politics. Campaign finance reform is essential for climate change mitigation, because as long as the top 1% is controlling our representatives, we don't have a voice in the political system. Yeah, and then but in the meantime, our civic responsibilities go so far beyond just voting. Like, there's so much we can do between elections in our own communities to kind of kickstart this green transition. So, yeah.
It all starts with community garden. So.
Yeah. I mean,
community garden to growing our political system. It's
yeah, right.